The Steffi Graf Stadium in Berlin, June 22, 2026. The grass is still slick from the storms that delayed the final by over 5 hours. The stands are packed with fans who waited through the chaos, through the lightning, through the evacuation of the venue. They have come to witness history. And history is about to be made. The final is a battle. Jessica Pegula, the world number 4 and defending champion, stands across the net. She has just beaten Aryna Sabalenka, the world number 1 in the semifinals. She is the favorite. She is expected to win. But standing in her way is a 21-year-old from the Czech Republic, a player who has been quietly climbing the ranks, waiting for her moment to shine. A player who just days earlier had ended Alexandra Eala's magical run in the semifinals. A player who was about to do the unthinkable. Linda Noskova. The match lasts just under 2 hours. Noskova takes the first set 6-4. Pegula fights back, winning the second set 6-4. The decider is tense, brutal, and unforgiving. But Noskova breaks early, holds her nerve, and seals the victory 6-3. The crowd erupts. The Czech star has done it. She has won her second WTA singles title, her first on grass. She has guaranteed herself a maiden top 10 ranking. She has become the new Czech number 1, overtaking Karolina Muchova. But it's not the victory that leaves the tennis world speechless. It's what she says next. "I don't know where I'm going to put this trophy. It's too heavy." The crowd laughs. The cameras zoom in. The tennis world is charmed. But then she says something else. Something that stops everyone cold. Something that makes the tennis establishment sit up and take notice. Something that leaves the entire sport absolutely speechless. This is the story of that moment. This is the story of how a young Czech star announced to the world that she had arrived. Let's begin. To understand why Linda Noskova's victory was so significant, you have to understand the journey that brought her to Berlin. Noskova had been flying under the radar for years. The Czech Republic is a tennis powerhouse, producing legends like Martina Navratilova, Petra Kvitova, and Karolina Pliskova. But Noskova was different. She was quieter, more reserved, a player who let her racket do the talking. She arrived at the Berlin Open as the 8th seed. She was not the favorite. She was not the one everyone was talking about. That honor belonged to Alexandra Eala, the Filipina sensation who had stunned the world in Berlin, beating Elena Rybakina and Elina Svitolina in back-to-back matches. But Noskova had other plans. In the semifinals, she faced Eala. The crowd was overwhelmingly pro-Eala. The Filipino flags waved. The noise was deafening. But Noskova remained calm. She had beaten Eala before in Indian Wells, and she knew exactly how to do it again. "I think my tactic really helped me beat Eala," Noskova said after the match. She had executed her game plan to perfection. She had neutralized Eala's strengths and exploited her weaknesses. The final score was 6-2, 6-4. Noskova had ended the Eala fairy tale. She had sent the Filipina star packing, and she had booked her place in the biggest final of her career. Standing across the net would be Jessica Pegula, the world number 4, the defending champion, the player who had just beaten Aryna Sabalenka, the world number 1, in a thrilling semifinal. The stage was set for a clash of titans, and Noskova was ready. The final was scheduled for Sunday afternoon, but the weather had other plans. Severe storms swept through Berlin, causing damage around the venue and forcing the evacuation of spectators. The final was delayed by more than 5 hours. The players waited, the fans waited, the world waited. When the storms finally passed, the grass was slick, the conditions were treacherous, but the show had to go on. Noskova stepped onto the court with the composure of a veteran. She quickly settled into the contest, racing into a 3-0 lead in the opening set. The momentum was with her, the belief was with her, and she wasn't going to let it slip. The first set ended 6-4. Noskova was in control. But Pegula wasn't done. the defending champion fought back in the second set, winning a series of crucial points to force a decider. The match was hanging in the balance. The tension was unbearable. Then, everything changed. Noskova regained control in the third set. She broke early and maintained her advantage despite pressure from the American. The final set ended 6-3. Noskova had done it. She had won her first grass court title. She had secured her second WTA singles crown, and she had guaranteed herself a maiden top 10 ranking. And she had become the new Czech #1, overtaking Karolina Muchova. The crowd erupted. The Czech star had arrived, and the tennis world was watching. The victory was historic. The moment was monumental. But it was what Noskova said next that left the tennis world absolutely speechless. As she stood on the court, trophy in hand, she looked into the cameras and said, "Wow, what a week. Obviously, I want to congratulate Jessie. You're incredible and a very tricky player to play on whatever surface. It was really tough to play you in the final." The crowd applauded. The sportsmanship was admirable. But then, Noskova made a joke that charmed everyone in the stadium. "I don't know where I'm going to put this trophy. It's too heavy." The crowd laughed. The camera zoomed in on her smile. The tennis world was charmed by her humility, her humor, her down-to-earth personality. But it wasn't the joke that left the tennis world speechless. It was what she said next. Noskova paused. She looked at the trophy, she looked at the crowd, and then she said something that stopped everyone cold. "I definitely was not expecting this," she said. "Before coming to a tournament, you never really know what you can count on or how the tournament is going to go, especially when it's the very first one on grass this season." The words hung in the air. Here was a player who had just won the biggest title of her career, and she was admitting that she hadn't expected it. She was admitting that she was surprised. She was admitting that she was still processing the magnitude of what she had achieved. But then she said something even more revealing. "I'm really happy to get off to a brilliant start," she said. "I was feeling my game for the whole week, so I couldn't be happier." The tennis world was stunned, not by the victory, but by the honesty, the vulnerability, the reminder that behind the rankings, behind the trophies, behind the headlines, there is a young woman who is still figuring it all out. Noskova had just won the Berlin Open. She was about to break into the top 10 for the first time in her career. She was the new Czech #1, and she was admitting that she hadn't expected any of it. The tennis world was left absolutely speechless. The numbers told a story that the tennis establishment could not ignore. Noskova had arrived at the Berlin Open as the 8th seed, ranked 13th in the world. She had beaten some of the best players in the sport. She had ended Alexandra Eala's magical run. She had defeated Jessica Pegula, the world #4, in the final. She had secured her second WTA singles crown and her first on grass. But the victory was not more than just the title. It was about what it represented. Noskova was set to break into the top 10 for the first time in her career. She was overtaking Karolina Muchova to become the new Czech #1. At just 21 years old, she was now among the elite of women's tennis. The victory also cemented Noskova's status as one of the most dangerous players on grass. Her left-handed game, her powerful serve, her tactical intelligence, all of it had come together in Berlin. "I think my tactic really helped me," Noskova said after her semifinal win over Eala, and that tactical intelligence was on full display throughout the tournament. The win also had significant implications for Wimbledon. Noskova was now a genuine contender for the most prestigious title in tennis. She had proven that she could compete on grass. She had proven that she could beat the best players in the world. She had proven that she belonged. The tennis world was taking notice, and the young Czech star was just getting started. The victory in Berlin was not just a moment of triumph, it was a message to the tennis world that Linda Noskova had arrived. "I definitely was not expecting this," she had said, but now that she had achieved it, she was ready for more. Her message was clear. She was here to stay. She was ready to compete. She was ready to win. But the laughter was just the beginning, because what Noskova had achieved in Berlin wasn't just a victory, it was a statement. A declaration that she belonged among the best in the world, a declaration that the future of women's tennis had arrived. And she was just getting started. And that, my friends, is how a 21-year-old from the Czech Republic walked onto the grass of Berlin and left the entire tennis world absolutely speechless. She won the Berlin Open. She broke into the top 10. She became the new Czech #1, and she did it all with grace, humility, and a smile on her face. This is the rise of Linda Noskova. This is history in the making. And trust me, this is only the beginning.